Well, welcome once again. This is the Doctor of Digital, the Doctor of Digital podcast. Purpose of the show is to transform your business and life with education and inspiration. I introduce busy business leaders to trends in business, technology, and marketing to highlight people you should know. Are you ready to unlock the secrets of e-commerce success and build a $1 million brand on Amazon? Get ready for a mind-blowing episode as we dive into the world of online entrepreneurship and a master strategist who's cracked the code to financial freedom through Amazon FBA. From identifying winning products to scaling your business for a lucrative exit, we're about to reveal game-changing tactics that could transform your entrepreneurial journey. My guest today is Neil Twa, a powerhouse in the e-commerce space and the CEO co-founder of Voltage Holdings. Neil's journey from Fortune 500 management consultant at IBM to an e-commerce guru is nothing short of inspiring. With his unique skin-in-the-game approach, Neil has helped countless brands launch, scale, and even exit on Amazon. He's a co-author of Almost Automated Income with FBA and a sought-after speaker on topics ranging from product selection to organic traffic generation on Amazon. Neil's expertise in building million-dollar brands and his innovative GreenLight profit taxation method make him a must-listen for anyone serious about conquering the e-commerce world. In this episode, we'll do a deep dive into the changes and hot topics of e-commerce and Amazon, its biggest challenges and growth. I will leverage the expertise of my guest and how to navigate the unique dynamics of the field. By the end of this episode, you'll be better equipped to know what to do, and I encourage you to contact my guest, Neil Twa, CEO, co-founder of Voltage Holdings and co-author of the Almost Automated Income with FBA. And with that, I want to welcome Neil to the program. How are you doing today, Neil?
I'm doing wonderful today. Thank you, sir.
You bet. So really curious, how did you get into this field? Can you tell us some sort of story about how you got in this field and how did you make that transition? Very curious about that.
Yeah, so we'll go into the Wayback Machine and do the once upon a time, right? Once upon a time story, how I became a king among queens. In simple terms, I've always loved the internet, and I've always loved the idea of technology and computers, and frankly, it was because it transformed my life. I was actually going to go and be a full-time fighter pilot. I had gone through high school, and that's what I wanted to do, and unfortunately, my dreams were kind of crushed when I couldn't fit in the F-16 cockpit, and they rejected me for fighter status. I couldn't actually go do the training because at that point I was too big for the cockpit, and I didn't want to do anything but fly fighter pilots and jets and go fast. And they're like, well, you can't do that. So I had to backpedal on my last semester of my senior year and started applying for positions to college. I had a scholarship to music in school out in the Midwest. And so I took that and ran out there, even though I didn't really want to be there. But what saved me from that really and not knowing what to do and just going to college and fumbling around and actually failing out at least once and having to be reinstated was the internet came online. And with that, I was hooked on the idea of business and commerce and the whole thing about technology and computers and everything it meant, because it was just in a changing period of time that was happening so fast. It was quite crazy. Sure. And so from that, I realized I wanted to be a part of it, but academia was nowhere near anywhere equipped to deal with that. They had no idea who was spending the most money. Well, the corporations were. So I jumped out and got a little job and started working on the job route, even though I never really wanted to do that. And I always kind of wanted to take the entrepreneurial route. I just had to go that way because I needed to learn. And I taught myself programming. And from there, ended up becoming an employee at Sprint. Worked my way into that position. Thankfully, onto the PCS division, was one of the first 5,000 employees hired to build the company that launched the mobile phones. So I got to be on the first mobile phone launch within Sprint and watch that company blow up to 80,000 employees in 5 years on the inside. Wow. And that was quite a fascinating time to see an industry grow on the inside like mobile grew, and how fast and crazy that company grew from the inside out. Yeah. During that time, did really well with it. Actually got really good at understanding some simple concepts about business in time. And then IBM, came in to help with the project on Sprint, made some really great friends through the IBM crew. And one of them said, hey, there's a job opening. You should come check it out. So I applied and flew out to Armonk, New York. And in 20 minutes, I had a job with IBM. And so now I was the off to IBM world. Spent almost 5 years traveling and doing knowledge management, latent semantic search engines, and artificial intelligence for the customer support side of the mobile industry, high tech, oil and gas, and different industries of that type. and just really got to learn what it meant to do large B2B sales, large B2B enterprise work. I was on a cell phone and a laptop and traveling everywhere. We called it I've been moved, because we would be sometimes in 2 and 3 cities a week. And so really learned how to kind of be my own boss within the corporate. So it really set me up to kind of do my own thing. And when IBM said, hey, in 2007, we're moving your division to Argentina, or you can apply somewhere else. And I was like, what? Okay, well, I just got married in March, so I'm not leaving to Argentina. So I took my early retirement in June and I started my business. Now, everybody thinks that there's a perfect time to start a business. They're waiting to get the right amount of capital. They're waiting for the right moment. They're waiting for this right big thing to be like, well, that's your next step in the road. Well, I'll tell you what, if 2 years later into that, I had not started my business and decided that was what I was going to do, and sort of, I didn't burn the bridges, but I just sort of set the boats on fire and said, I'm done. I'm never going back. I probably would have got a job again and never looked back, because the first 2 years of my business, between my wife's health and issues and getting pregnant with the first baby, and then her income disappearing and my income was gone, and now we were just basically onto the business, was probably the most difficult time you would want or try to start a business. And I may not have ever done it if I had just looked back. But long story short, got into it, ran a management consulting firm, ended up hiring a mentor who really helped me expand my mind and brain, and remember that sales fixes everything. And if you're going to be a business owner, you got to learn how to sell ethically, sell well, sell in demand, sell what's needed, sell what you can deliver. And so he helped me expand my company into 10 management consultants. And so by the time I got to 2010, I had them. They were working on subcontracts for both US and private sector, public and private. And we were helping deliver, projects for IBM on one side, and we were delivering projects for the US Census on another side. And so I was freed up to learn more of the marketing and stuff, and to build the business, and got to really play in with online marketing more intentionally than I had previously. Discovered I was pretty good at it. I was actually pretty good at buying media and traffic, and realized I could make more money doing that than with all the management consultants combined. And so I kind of just let them all go and shut the projects down, and then just focused on building a media and lead generation company. And then realized, if I wanted to do this the right way, I needed to actually own the products, not just own the pipeline of traffic, which is what I was doing. And I was just affiliating more time and trading more time for money like I was doing previously. It was just looked better and was nicer, but I was still trading time for money. And so I said, okay, how do I change that? Well, I built a brand, and I got into the idea of building an e-commerce brand and physical products, which led me to Amazon. Someone introduced me to it and said, hey, they got this thing called Amazon FBA, fulfilled by Amazon. I'm like, what the heck is that? And they go, well, Amazon takes all your products, it ships it, it handles it, it transports it, it does all these things and uses their marketplace to do it. And I'm like, well, shoot, that means that I just keep doing what I'm good at. I keep in the direct and demand and response, and I built the brand and let them ship the products. And what do you know? We kind of bumbled our way around that in 2012 and 2013. But by the time we got to 2014, we created a 7-figure brand on Amazon. And at that point, we understood the systems and mechanics of branding products and manufacturing, that for us, it was really easy at that point to just shoot fish in a barrel, as they say, and just keep launching products and getting capital as fast as we could, begging, borrowing capital as much as we could to launch more products and brands. Got a few people to come along the ride for us. Family and a couple friends were like, hey, show us what you're doing. I know that sounds like an old story, but once you get to be successful at a certain level, everybody wants to know what you're doing. So we had a bunch of people asking us, how did you do this? What are you doing? So we started to train some people, and they got them relatively successful in it as well. Been at that since 2012, building and growing, launching and scaling these brands, starting on Amazon and then moving into multiple sales channels beyond Amazon once they have grown and mature. Between myself, my direct the companies that we've managed or directly managed, we've done more than 100 million in sales through that channel. Awesome. So we've gotten pretty good at it. And now we're into acquisition mode. So we are buying companies, looking at one right now to go under a LOI for purchase. And we're going to set to acquire about 5 of those brands this year. So now we're going into acquisitions as a strategy to grow and build our brand out while keeping our retail channels open and the operations we currently run. And then we have clients that come along with us and help to do that. I usually look for people who want to build, grow, and scale as fast as we do. And that's not for everybody. So we have a kind of a small client base of people who are coming along, and I actually turn them into operators. So I have no employees. My operators are business owners who I've trained and built in with my team and my partner. And then they become operators of our companies and even the companies we acquire. So I went from having employees to no employees.
Yeah. So you've really described quite a bit there in talking about the changes and what you've done so far. I'm curious about what would you say are what topics would be hot now currently in e-commerce and Amazon? That'd be interesting to know.
Well, a lot of people would probably ask, is this the right time to get in? Is it too late? Did I miss the window of opportunity? And the answer is no. E-commerce is actually the fastest growing industry in the world. It is set to do about $6.7 trillion in sales. So that's plenty of opportunity. Forbes and Bank of America research has said we're going to do an invert here shortly. We're at about 35% of all retail. And then we have 65% of online. That is actually going to switch, moving about 21 trillion in sales to online that are not currently there. We saw a huge adoption curve in the COVID years during 2020. In the first quarter, there were 10 years of growth in this industry in 3 months. So because no one could go and travel, it really created e-commerce now as not just a nice to have and some people do it, but now my parents are on it and buying stuff. And it's made it an adoption curve that's changed it pretty dramatically. Mobile phones now accommodate 60% of the sales people are buying every week. So that's changed dramatically in terms of accessibility. And so e-commerce is growing and scaling extremely fast. People think Amazon is concerned, they're concerned about it because they might steal your products. There's too much competition. There's not enough good products. Somebody's already taken all the products. There's no opportunity. And so they're still thinking about it the wrong way. They're still thinking about it maybe in the product only development world, but we talk about brands. All right. Raising a product to 100,000 is very different. And a lot of people can do that, but getting a brand to 1 million is where you actually have systems and operations in place to actually grow that and brand it and develop it. And brands do not become saturated, but products do, right? That's why there's 15 burger companies, right?
Yes.
Because that is a brand-driven enterprise. When you understand that concept, you realize there is no such thing as a saturated brand, but there can be saturation in product. So most of those myths are just dispelled by product changes, adaptations, and we innovate. We don't invent. We innovate products into positions where they can have patent and become uniquely designed, brandable, controlled IP, intellectual property that we own. So the idea that Amazon is not to be used, not to be played with, and not to be trusted, there's a lot of things you could say about that in the world of business, but there's a lot of businesses we shouldn't trust so much these days because of the way they act. However, we still use them as tools, like a hammer. Okay, a hammer can build something beautiful, build something wonderful. It can smash your thumb if you're not careful, or it can be the third, used weapon to kill people in the world behind baseball bats. So the fact is, Amazon is just a tool to me, like any other tool of social media, commerce, etc. And so you like the pros and the cons. You got to take it for what it's worth, right? But Amazon, has its troubles. It's not a perfect Amazon fanboy by any measure. I want to see, people take and use these tools in the right way. So there's tremendous opportunity in e-commerce. It is going to become a situation in which you either get victimized or have to use it because of the marketplace, the economy, et cetera, or you take an opportunity in a controlled position and think about it more abundantly and then get in the fight and find yourself in opportunity and, use it as something that may benefit yourself and your family, buy back your time and your freedom and spend it you want to do, right?
Absolutely. There's no question about it. And this is what everybody wants, basically, I would think, right? They want to be able to have the income, but then also enjoy the family and leisure activities.
Absolutely, dude. You would love to have both. It took me 17 years to get here. I trained people how to do it in 2 to 3 years. I live on the 50 acres in the country. My 4 daughters and my wife are here with us. We've got the cows and, neighbor cows. I don't actually own them, but we got the chickens and got ducks, and we live on a homesteading property with a garden, and we homeschool our children. And so I believe, what I have finally gotten to is freedom in America that still exists for everybody, really, when you think about it. It's just you have to be willing to take some risk to get there. I mean, long ago, we decided to sell our home to give the business longer opportunity to grow, as opposed to just forcing things to happen. Changed cars, moved locations, did whatever was necessary to keep the marathon going of the business until reaching a point where we've gotten to now. I can show people how to get there faster than that and easier. But yeah, there's opportunity with e-com that doesn't, require retail buildings and physical locations and can ship products and logistics all over the world without ever touching it. And that's a pretty fun business model.
Sure is. Yeah, absolutely. It takes all the drudgery out of it and the work out of it, but it allows you to enjoy what you would probably really want to do, which is to make money, have a life. And what you're describing is what I always say: it's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's the American.
Really, at the end of the day, the liberties that are still available to us. And if I think we just shut off the media and churn that stuff out, you'll find that most people still agree, still think, and still want that. And quite frankly, the opportunity is still here. If you turn off that other nonsense, you will find that there are many of us who don't listen to it because there's opportunity everywhere. You may not feel like it because a lot of people feel scarcity and stress and fear in the situations we're watching now. But honestly, money and opportunity are just rivers. They're currents. They flow. Yeah. And sometimes currents flow and change, and you might not feel like it's close to you now, or it's not available, or you can't get to it. And it may be that it's just moved away from you and you're going to have to go get it. You're going to have to move your feet and go get it because it's moved, because it has changed, and money is flowing like a river. It's always changing, ever moving. There is an infinite supply of money. And people are like, well, money is scarce and there is no money. Well, that's not actually true. There's an infinite supply of it. And unfortunately, that's part of the problem we should fix. Yes. But the end result is that it is out there. You just need to go get it. It is out there for you to go get. It is really not scarce, actually. It is the scarcity in your mind creating a situation that makes you believe it's not available when in actuality it is.
Yeah, that's really strange that people say, like, you don't watch television? I go, no, I don't watch television.
Why would I do that? I'm polluting my mind. I don't spend any time focusing on that.
That's the negativity that people introduce in their lives, and it's limiting beliefs, because that's all the message you hear. It's all negative. It's all bad. It's all narrative.
There is no opportunity. There's no hope. And I reject that. That's a scarcity limiting mindset belief. And I believe in the abundance of opportunities. And this is coming from a guy who's been bankrupt. So if anybody is like, well, it's easy for you to say that now, Neil. It's like, no, dude, I have trudged through. I've had 3 kids and a pregnant wife and $260 in the bank account. Like, I've known what it's mean to be in scarcity and to fight and look and try to create opportunity in the midst of trouble and pain and no money and issues. I'm speaking from experience, right? I fought those battles, and the end result is, in staying the course and seeing life as an opportunity to be challenged and overcome the challenges. Others have seen those challenges and simply want to sit down and be victimized or act like victims in that process. And I refuse to do that. If you say no, I'm like, that's a KNOW. It's a KNOW until you tell me it's a hell no. If it's a hell no, then I'll probably stop, or move or change directions. But I'm not somebody who easily gives up.
Yeah, that said, I can relate too, because people look at my life and go, I had $5.85 to my pocket at one time. And I go, yeah, if I can come back from that, I can come back from anything.
There's opportunity everywhere. And it literally starts and ends and grows with your mind. Really, it has nothing, whether you do e-commerce, real estate, or whatever. I can show you somebody successful in every one of those areas. What is their opportunity? What did they do? Why is it different? And when you get down to the fundamental core, they were trained and conditioned themselves in situations through mentorships or wherever to become a different person in the way they think about opportunity, and to simply just not take no for an answer and continue to push harder and farther than others will. I mean, the line in the sand for me right now, I feel, is very low for opportunity. You have the internet, you have systems and technologies we didn't have years ago. You have so much opportunity sitting at your fingertips that in some ways that creates a situation where some people are, they acquiesce the decision of doing anything because there's so many opportunities to do. They don't know which one to do. And I would say, because we live in the country, you can't ride 2 horses with one ass. You got to pick one and ride it to success. So find the one you feel is the most opportunity and just keep riding that horse until it becomes successful. It may take you 5 years. It may take you 5 months. It may take you 15 years. The end result is you can't compare it to anybody else's journey, but you're going to have to get on the horse one way or another, or you're never going to make it.
Yeah, it's a simple fact, but people who do not act go nowhere. People who do act have at least the opportunity or the chance to be successful. So you have to act.
Yeah, I saw this meme the other day. The equation was, 1 to the 1 exponential. It's like, this is what happens. It equals 1. So if you just stay where you are, you get nothing. But if you make a 1 little millimeter shift, you can be at like 37. So you can have a 37 times difference just taking small, merited, consecutive, and consistent actions. And it can become exponentially larger than just doing nothing. So even if you're going to do something and fail in the process of doing it, don't give up until you find your success. That is literally the difference between where I'm at now and where I was before. And it's the same opportunity for anybody now, whether they take e-commerce or go a different direction. In 2 or 3 years, things can be very different, be exponentially different if you just put your nose to the grindstone and go. And you have to risk something. I understood that. I understood it better when I had nothing to risk. Does that make sense?
Yes, sure does.
Right. So I had everything to gain. Okay. Some of those people who are in the middle of that and feel the fear of risking anything are going to find themselves with nothing because they wouldn't risk something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious about, it's still going to be a unique approach, FBA, and the things that you put together. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about recommendations that you have and sort of groundbreaking ideas that may be really fresh and new, unique for people.
Well, if you're looking to sell a physical product, let me tell you one thing I know about this now. We don't sell anything less than $50. So if you're going to have the manufacturing, the process of a physical product and all the conditional aspects of the costs that go on it, obviously it's called net profit. Most people don't always understand what that means. They confuse gross profit or gross margin, but net profit is actually what you keep. If you think about everything going into a net, what falls out the very bottom is what you get to keep. So that net is most important. And in a physical product world, we must have a minimum of $12 in net profit for us to really function in today's world. Okay. And that's Amazon or otherwise. So with that knowledge, then comes a process of what the heck do I actually sell? And that process we do, and I can give you a tip for that today for anybody paying attention. If you've ordered something on Amazon, or a lot of things most likely in the last 90 days, there's a good chance that one of those products is something you can sell because someone like us sold it to you. Because by Amazon's own numbers, 60% of all the products on the .com are sold by third-party sellers. Okay. That means that if you go through what we call your circle of confidence, anything you've bought in your life for your wife, your family, your friends, your significant other, are products that most likely 60% of the time were produced by somebody like me, meaning you can also produce and sell one and compete the market. So start with those product ideas and start writing them down. Okay. They're all around you. They're everywhere. We challenge our clients to get up to 500 of them before they then whittle that down by numbers. Okay. We call our GreenLight process to determine which profitable ones have the highest percentage of churn and the highest opportunity for competition in the marketplace of profitability inside of Amazon's ecosystem to start, and can be managed and acquired through pay-per-click campaigns inside of Amazon and still get you a net profit. Okay. So we will always test those first. If you want to know the range, there's something called a bestseller on Amazon, right? It's not the one with the badge. Is the one we usually sell. It's the bestseller ranking, and it's literally on the listing on Amazon. If you go to the website and you scroll down, there's a little section called bestseller ranking. If it's between 50 and 100K, and it has reviews and it looks like a decent product and a listing, there's a good chance you can sell those. Okay. In that range, there is demand, but not a lot of saturation yet. Okay. Remember, all products can become saturated, but brands cannot. So we want to avoid saturated products. And typically to get the 50 to 100 BSR is products that can range from 10 to 25 sales a day. Okay. So now we got an idea of kind of how that 5x5 playbook kicks in. Of getting these 5 products in the market that each have, $12 in net profit, total of about 25 sales a day organically. And that puts you at about 110,000 a year in profit. Not bad, right? Yeah, when you add on Prime days, which are coming up here very quick, and those are huge sales day for Amazon, and you add on the holidays, we typically shoot for year one, 150K in profit minimum. These are our numbers. Okay. Now, can that go faster? Absolutely. Can one of those products take off and go bigger? Sure. That'd be more like what we call a mid case in business, but with a base case of understanding, money in, money out in year one. The real opportunity begins in year 2 and year 3. Everything I set up in year 1 will grow exponentially in year 2 and year 3, something a lot of people don't understand. SKUs launched this year on Amazon will make up only 5% of total retail sales. Okay. So a minority of the majority of their sales in year 1. So it's not realistic for you to expect that your 7-figure hopes and dreams and Lambo wonders are all going to occur in year 1 in a business, especially not on Amazon. Okay. But what happens is by year 2, it goes to 20%. So SKUs launched this year that were 5% now go to 20% in year 2. You know how much it is by year 3?
Oh, what?
40%. So by year 3, 40% of all of Amazon revenues come from SKUs launched in the last 3 years. So what would that logically tell you? This is a 2 to 3 year operation. It is an avalanche of growth. And in simple terms, the more products you put on Amazon, the more money you're going to make faster and faster as year 2 and 3 goes down the line. It's not 1 to 3 months, it's 1 to 3 years. And when people really understand that as a business building opportunity, grasp the concept of the time that was going to be required to make that occur, and then, of course, the monetary needs of that. And we don't let people really start with less than 25K in our group to go to business and launch correctly. Being underfunded is one of the 5 things that crashes a business. Okay. Underskilled is another one. So we're going to solve underskilled and underfunded right out of the gate, because we're going to train you on the skills, but you can't come in with no funds and start a physical private label business. That's a misnomer. That's a myth. That's a guru hopium expectation on the internet. It's not how it works. If you start with 5,000 to get your business off the ground, and I'm starting with 25,000, are you even in the same competition and market as me? No, which means you're going to lose to the other competition in the marketplace. I just need people to understand that, right?
Yeah.
You've got to go to war with the right equipment. You don't run into the battlefield with a bayonet only and not a weapon. Okay. Rather go to the war with a weapon without a bayonet. But I mean, one way or another, you got to be equipped correctly. People are never really equipped correctly with the mindset of money in this capital raise business. Why? Because to deploy more capital is to make this business go faster.
Yeah.
This is a money making business based on how much money you spend. Okay. If I deploy 50 and 100K in year one, I will go a lot faster. I've had friends that have come in and we deploy a lot more than that, but I've had clients come in and deploy up to $1 million in year one.
Yeah.
But out of that, they got a $40 million a year business. So you have to look at the opportunity cost of deploying capital in a physical private label business, which means it's not for everybody. I want to make that very clear. Some people might want to do a digital business or they might want to do others, but I'll tell you in the combination of people who do real estate in my network to what we spend on e-commerce based on the returns and the volume we achieve versus what they got in real estate, it's much greater. I would rather spend that 150,000 on e-commerce products and put it in a house that turns over $500 a month in rent.
Yeah.
Right. Because I can put that into a business that turns over $100,000 a month. So for me, the economies and scale of gross for e-com is way different for capital in and capital out.
Yeah.
Right. Those are some things that I think people should really understand about the money and time and energy. Usually 15 to 20 hours a week can be trained on this business model. And I've got guys who are full-time pharmacists. I got ladies who are full-time moms. I got lawyers and dentists and business owners. And, solopreneurs and onepreneurs who are doing W-2s that are doing it on the side. And then people who've dedicated themselves to the full-time process. I've got all kinds of people at the end of the day that can do e-commerce. Really gets down to mindset of tenacity. And that's the thing I really want to get down to here is you need to be a tenacious person. Absolutely. You need to be willing to solve business problems. So that's kind of the people we look for. That's some of the framework. Did that answer your question okay? Or do you want me to?
Absolutely. That's what I'm curious about. You actually gave what I was looking for was some actionable tips and who this is for. So that's what I'm curious about because we talked about the changes. We've talked about the hot topics. You've understood the process, or that's what I think we covered. I'm really curious now that hopefully people have said, yeah, this is for me. And if it is for them, how do you suggest they get a hold of you and what should be their next step be?
Well, the next step is deciding, number one, that this is a business model they want to do regardless of working with anyone, coach, mentor, or otherwise. Something you would be willing to do on your own, right? Because as a 100% business owner, the buck stops with you, okay? Capital, line, deployment. If you hire other people, contractors, mentors, coaches, or whatever, you're going to be responsible for the positives or negative outcome of that either way. So which means you need to be prepared to do that, number one. Number two, if you've had mentoring and coaching and had success in any other business model, then you already know the value of having somebody who's walked the path, come behind you or beside you or in front of you and help you with any problems or gotchas that could be extremely expensive, ordering the wrong product set and finding out that it was all data driven incorrectly is going to cost you a lot more than spending the time to work with a mentor or a coach to get this forward. So those who kind of understand that value should understand where we're going. We're an Amazon growth consultancy. I do not have courses and programs. Okay. We work on a client basis, a 12-month engagement. And if anybody is interested in that kind of business model, more like a franchise-like business, but I don't take any profits, but I do put some skin in the game. I put up to 10K on the line for those who I choose to work with because it is an invitation process. And we do the invitation process to determine whether or not you're the right operator. Operators for me will eventually go on to build their own companies, but can work with us and other companies, go on joint venture products, go through acquisitions, and even become operators of acquisitions companies that we do within our portfolio. And so operators have a very big upside potential with us beyond just their own business, should they decide to go. So they go to voltagedm.com and check that out. VoltageDM, that's digitalmarketing.com. You can obviously find me. I've got a short last name. Yes, it is my last name. It is Twa. You can Google Voltage too, and you'll find me on the interwebs and on any social media. You can check out whether you like my personal profile or not. I will tell you, I'm from the Midwest, grow in the Ozark Mountains of Missouri. I have probably more guns than you, and I live a very conservative lifestyle. Love my family first above all things, and my faith with my 5 Fs: faith, family, freedom, fun, and of course, profit being in there for the business that we run. So if that doesn't even resonate with you at all, then we probably aren't going to jive because that's my community too. People who are sitting behind me obviously think a lot about that way too. So just to give you a heads up, should you check anything out, know what you're getting yourself into.
Honesty is the best policy. And it certainly resonates with me because this is what I said earlier. It's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And some people respond to that and some people don't. But
hey, that's okay.
Where I stand, that's where you're standing. That sounds awesome. Appreciate it, being upfront. Neil, thank you so much. You've given just a wealth of knowledge in a short amount of time and sharing your expertise. I really appreciate that. That was very kind of you. Appreciate you taking out some time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you for having me on, sir. I appreciate it. It's been an honor.
Thank you so much. This is the kind of program that we do want all the time. And this is the thing that we're always looking for all the time, because we have people who are really supportive of the kinds of mission that we have in mind and what we would like to do. So if you're interested in this kind of thing, make sure that we're subscribing, liking, sharing, positively reviewing the podcast, because people like Neil really are inspiring. People like Neil are really what makes this country great. And you have to know there's a lot of opportunity out there. So also want to thank the sponsors of the program. Also, those people who supported me when it came down to burning America and on track Ian Hunter. So is really appreciated. If you want to reach out to me and know what I do and know more about my background, I help business leaders, CEOs, entrepreneurs break through their obscurity through oral and written presentations, building credibility and authority. I have a private Facebook group that you feel free to join, Mastering Presentation Secrets, and hopefully I can help you out as well. Until next time, this is Dr. Digital signing off. Day is full.